Thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I think Patrick mentioned he was the 5th speaker. I am now the 6th and the dignitaries have gone. So I'm very aware I probably only have a few minutes of attention span left in you guys, so please listen intently. So my job, and I'm an engineer, and I've been in this business and industry for 25 years, in and out of rail, and running rail businesses now as part of my portfolio for the last 10 years. So I was really pleased to be asked by Terence to join the group and then start to become involved in the things that have frustrated me a lot, and I mean a lot, over the last 10 years. And it's really a great time for us as a set of individuals and businesses that can really make a difference. But in order to do that, we have to really hold a mirror to ourselves and work hard, because we've tried to do this before. The difference now is there seems to be a real momentum, a real conviction of the people I've discussed, and a great strategy, I believe. I'm privileged to be a part of that. So I'm going to stand here and just give you an insight into the creating market conditions for growth section, one of the 4 pillars. In order to do that, it's probably worth me articulating some of the things which we discussed and the industry has experienced in terms of the problems we've encountered over recent years. I think the first one of those, from my perspective, is the nature of the work itself and the programmes, and we've all experienced the stop-start nature of the programmes of work, which as a supplier I find really frustrating beforehand. So it's bid resources, and I was amazed when we started talking about some statistics in the strategy, and you'll read them yourself when you pick your copy up on the way out, but 400 billion euros is spent across Europe in terms of procurement. It's an incredible amount of money spent just getting us to the start line. The amount of effort as a business like mine that we put in, the resources that we have to apply to bidding work, is incredible. And if you think there's anywhere between 3 and 10 bidders, or however the procurement's being played out at any one time, and duplicating resources, and generally knocking the same old bids out in many respects in terms of pre-quals and other stuff as well, I think you start getting an understanding of potential wastage in terms of procurement. So I think first one is around the stop-start nature. It's about the resources deployed, and it's about really trying to work hard in getting general programmes of work, maybe procured in a slightly different way. The second for me is the issue we've always had in public, in particular, public sector procurement, around the divide, the great divide between capital expenditure and revenue expenditure, which for me, and I know PFI can be a dirty word, and we've done quite a few of them in my business, but the joy around joining the two up and taking a total approach, holistic approach, to the delivery of capital and revenue expenditure really can transform what we do. We don't do it well and haven't in this industry. And I think the opportunity to do that, to get more efficiency, to join the two up, to be thinking about the maintenance a lot more when we're doing the capital works, and actually engaging is absolutely massive from our perspective, and we should never understate that. The next issue that was discussed was around specifications, really, and I see this in other industries. When I work in the roads industry, there's a real effort now going into trying to standardise and get a standard approach in respect to specifying materials for assets and asset-based works. And we all agreed in the council essentially there's something we should take a good hard look at to try and get some sort of uniform approach to try and help us, not only in respect of the buying side of things, but also the delivery in terms of training. It simplifies so much. And the final one for me, and I've definitely done a lot more of this in my building business as well, is early involvement in the supply chain, and that's us. Getting stuck in a lot earlier to ensure that we can inform customers and we can have more of a joined up approach in respect of delivering things and creating and hunting those efficiencies very early on in the whole process. So how does this all break down? So what do? We have 3 areas which we're focusing on, generally speaking, that are agreed, which will address a lot of the issues which I talk about. And that's one in terms of giving suppliers the confidence to invest, and there'll be further discussions on that, so we'll pick that up as well. In terms of understanding and getting greater visibility of the pipeline, we recognise the great work that's been done already in terms of national infrastructure plans and welcome others doing that. And it's about consolidating, understanding that and communicating that back to the industry. It's getting greater collaboration all the way down the chain, the value chain itself. And that's joining up to make sure we can exchange views, we can discuss efficiencies, and we can become better as an industry. We're a little bit segmented at the moment, quite a fragmented approach in terms of our approach to solving issues and problems in the industry. And the final one, which is probably one of the biggest ones, the elephants in the room, is improving performance. A lot of that will be generated from the things that we do, but that has to be one of our fundamentals. As an industry, I think personally we have a long way to go, and I think everyone in this room would recognise that. But we're all looking forward and embracing the thinking around innovation and more efficiencies as spells. So just to close in terms of this, the first of the 4th legs, what do we plan to do? Well, we're going to help produce the longer term plan. We're going to communicate the plan and work with other bodies to ensure that we can, so we can get more visibility to enable us to think about what we're doing, deploying our resource, training people, recruiting people and investing. We're going to help develop and look at new ways of procurement. We won't do this in isolation, and we're very, very aware. In terms of preferences, about collaborative approaches to insurance. It's about joining us up as a supply chain and customer base. And it's about tackling that. And to do that, we have to be more collaborative. Our UK client group, other people as well, and other organisations have already started doing some great work on this, and it's about us learning, extrapolating that work and applying it to our industry as well. And finally, it's about supporting small businesses. And it's about ensuring that we can get access to finance, ensuring we can promptly pay and do the right thing for our supply chain and nurture and allow the smaller businesses in the industry that will offer so much innovation to evolve. So that's it. It's as simple as that, really. In terms of, and I say that, and we all know how hard this is going to be. This is no easy task. And what we really need as a council is absolute commitment and support to some of the things that we discuss and we implement. Because we're going to do a lot of hard work, and we have done over the last 2 years, and there's a lot more to go. But again, just to finish, it's about holding a mirror to ourselves as an industry and picking up the baton, taking the challenge, and then going to deliver it. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I'm the lucky one. I get to talk about a really exciting topic, innovation. I've been representing MSEs and getting them involved in the RSG's work, developing a strategy, and I'm really grateful for all their support and their input. Innovation is a vital part of taking advantage of the great opportunity that we're getting by Britain's investment programme in rail. And this RSG strategy that we've produced addresses the challenges that we've got to face for accelerating the uptake of innovation. We need this worldwide competitiveness of the UK supply chain, both in terms of the technology and the productivity. Now, some of the challenges that we've identified and we've faced up to improve the innovation process include things such as speeding the route to market for innovation. And that covers all aspects of how rail has to provide services to its customers, both passenger and freight. We need to tackle issues like slow product approval processes, regulatory and commercial hurdles, both national and European. And we've identified a need to grow capacity in our testing facilities. So how are we approaching those challenges? So I'd like to explain some of the key initiatives that the RSG is planning in this document. Firstly, we will partner a new with the Technical Strategy Leadership Group, the Rail Delivery Group, and the RSSB to develop an Innovation Leadership Steering Group to ensure coordination of our efforts. And this Innovation Leadership Group is going to work with the government to promote higher levels of innovation in the franchising process. We've already got the government's pilot scheme funded with 1% of franchise revenues. We also will establish a code of practice and a framework so that it encourages early and clear communication of specifications between clients and suppliers. And we also need to encourage collaboration in innovation between the smaller companies and the larger companies. Next, we will work with key stakeholders to streamline the product approval process and transform the UK's testing facilities. SMEs particularly can benefit from this because they don't have the resources and time to deal with a lot of these complex issues. And very importantly, the RSG, in collaboration with the government, universities, business incubators and others, we will develop a network of new centres of excellence for research and innovation. And we're going to do this in what we have identified as 5 key areas where the UK has real strength. And we want to build on the existing strength in these areas. The first of these is energy management and optimization, and including such things as novel energy storage. We've already had battery-powered trains, for example. Customer experience is important. We think we're good at many aspects of it. Data management and analysis and payment systems, we believe we can develop as to a real strength that is exportable, as well as improving our own systems here. Advanced control. Digital train control is essential to achieving the much greater capacity that's needed out of our existing rail system. Whole life optimization and through life management, including things like condition monitoring for cost and safety reasons, asset management systems, really making sure we are getting the best out of our railway system and optimizing it. High-value rolling stock systems, and that includes design, projects such as lightweighting and improving propulsion. So these are the 5 areas that we've identified as current key strengths that we want to focus on building on. Now, all of what I've said are not just plans. We have already fully engaged in many of these areas and have schemes underway. We are already talking to the academic community about the centres for excellence for research and innovation. We've already launched initiatives that are helping us achieve progress towards the goals that we must achieve for innovation. For example, schemes already put in place by the RSG include an open doors scheme which introduces innovation from SMEs to the right person. And it's very important for a small company to be able to go and speak to the right person in a TOC, in a large OEM Tier 1. We've also started, with the help of the Rail Alliance, an SME mentoring scheme to help smaller companies get fit for the UK supply chain and to help them get fit for international markets. And of course, we're supporting other existing schemes, RIA's Unlocking Innovation Scheme, the RSSB's Future Railway. You will see in this strategy document some great examples of innovation by both SMEs and larger companies working with SMEs. Syed Javid was kind enough to mention my own company's success story with self-powered wireless train and track monitoring, and you will see that in the brochure, and you could go and see it as he has done in the display area. But there are other case studies in the document that help to confirm the ability of the UK supply chain to innovate. And we believe that we can both facilitate and support innovation with this strategy. And we need to do that to restore the UK's position as a world technology leader in rail, and to meet the challenges such as UK capacity growth and our very ambitious export targets.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, or good morning rather. I'm representing Paul Francis here today, who chairs the People work stream, and he sadly can't be with us. And I'm also delighted to announce that we'll be joined in the leadership of that work stream by Adeline Ginn, who is here today, and I'm sure Adeline will continue to hold our toes to the fire on this very important strand of activity. Almost every speaker has talked about the importance of skills, so I don't really need to add to that. There is actually an unbelievable consensus around the need to act, so we just better get on and act. There's a number of things in the environment that we need to be aware of in this space. There's a new apprenticeship levy from April 17 with the government, and it'd be really important for the industry to engage with that. The Transport Infrastructure Skills Strategy you've heard mentioned was announced last week. We've worked very closely with that, and that, together with the People work stream, will be the drivers for people and skills for the industry. And there are targets both at Sajid's level in terms of 3 million apprenticeships, and Patrick has a 30,000 target, of which about 20,000 rail. So we'll be held to account for our delivery against them. And there's a lot of people in your organisations working very hard on designing new apprenticeships, both in operations and in engineering. And they are really quite exciting. What do we need to do? In a nutshell, we need to double the number of apprentices that are in the industry, new apprentices, double that, not easy. Secondly, we need to significantly upskill and reskill our existing staff to implement the new technologies we've heard about. And it's both. And it's easy to focus on apprenticeships when that's a lot of the story, but at least half the story is upskilling. And if you make the link to the productivity, that's particularly where we will see the productivity gains. Having all this new recruitment of apprentices is a fantastic opportunity to improve on the diversity of the industry, as has already been mentioned by so many people, and there are some great examples of that. So, how are we going to do it? You've heard the comment already about procurement. So, contracts will expect a good story on skills, both coming into the contract and in the delivery of it. And the exact targets will depend on which bit of the supply chain you're in. And again, transport and rail in particular are the lead sector on this. And Sajid has been telling other sectors to be more like rail in terms of procurement to drive skills. Where we're perhaps not so good at other sectors, and automotive is an obvious example, is we do not support our SMEs and we do not drive things down the supply chain as effectively as them. So to compensate for that, we will encourage regional leadership to drive and support SMEs in local areas and to really take the agenda forward at a regional level. And that's going to be a really important part of our strategy, and I'm delighted to talk about the examples that are already happening in the East Midlands, which are really motoring, and the North West as well under Alstom's chairmanship, which is starting to really develop some ambitious plans. So we're looking for regional leadership, of course, in other areas, and we've got really good data to drive all of this, so we know where we've got the challenges, both in terms of production and build, but also in terms of maintenance. Our training provision to support all of this is not as good as we'd like it. We have already announced very recently changes to the quality, how we quality assure the training, very much led through Network Rail. and we now need to improve the quality of both the number and the quality of trainers and assessors in our industry. We've got a real skills shortage in those that teach as well as those that do, and that will be a big part of our strategy going forward. We've heard already the importance of helping apprentices secure those opportunities and helping small businesses secure those apprentices. So it's a two-way street, and a no wrong door approach is needed for both, and we will have collective efforts to make that easier for apprentices to secure the opportunities they want. We've got very high demand for some of our apprentices, and then we've got businesses, smaller ones usually, who report it's very difficult to secure. So we've got to put that supply and demand together. We will be promoting the industry even more aggressively. We're up against some stiff competition, not least in this region here, from other industries, and we really need to shout for the young talent that is out there. And routes into rail are going to be a key part of our work going forward, and I would encourage you to support that. And one example of that will be Rail Week at the end of June, which I hope is in your diaries. And then we'll be working closely with all parts of the industry on this to make sure we are coordinated. And Paul mentioned earlier the work of RDG. It's going to be really important to work. This isn't just an engineering question, this is an operations question as well. And I'm happy to say that there's been fantastic commitment already to this agenda through an industry skills plan from Network Rail, TfL, the financiers in our industry, and also the operators. So we're looking for others to come in behind this skills plan, and we strongly expect them to, or you'll have to answer to Paul and Adeline, and I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. Now, it's really important to know if this is working, and we've got 4 main ways that we'll be making sure that this is all happens to plan. There's going to be a senior leadership team to drive skills. It's called a sector panel or a task force, depending which document you read. That is the same thing, and we'll be having very senior leadership in the chair of that to really drive performance in this space. We will also be continuing to measure. Our data is world class. Even the Treasury agree. Unfortunately, it's not happy reading at the moment in terms of how bad our skill shortages are, but we've got really good data, and we will want to extend that and also have similarly good data through Sentinel and Skills ID to get real-time understandings of the skills in the industry. And it's really exciting that to see the progress being made there on the operations side as well through the talk. So this is a whole industry approach. We will all need to individually drive the economic value of apprenticeships in the industry. We don't talk enough about this. Crossrail are fantastic at promoting the job they've done. Most of the rest of us are too modest about the economic value of the industry. And now you heard the numbers there, but actually it means getting out and talking to people. And we will lastly hear back from you, because you will moan if you are making opportunities available and you can't find the people. You will rightly moan about that, and we will listen to that and use that data to monitor our performance. So it's going to be a busy time, but the good news is there's a plan. The good news is everybody's behind it, and there's plenty of work, so we'll just go and get on with it. Thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Adam, first of all, for pointing out he was the 6th speaker and that your attention span was diminishing. I'm the 9th speaker, and I suppose I've missed my window. I'll give it a go, and I'll try and be brief. The exports and investment pillar of the strategy is being developed, will be implemented by the end of the year, but really does underpin one of the key aims, which is to sort of improve overall the UK economy, outside of rail, improve the UK economy. That's through specialist capability being exported outside of the UK. The principal goal is to try and double exports. We actually think we can do better. I'm responsible for businesses around the world on 3 other continents, and actually the opportunity to bring in specialist UK expertise to those locations and to capitalise on that is massive. So we really do believe that we can do better than doubling that. And we'll be very disappointed if we don't at least double exports. A number of things to consider. First of all, we're not starting from a low base here. We're building on the good work of RIA and UKTI and understand that already we export significant amounts of professional and advisory services outside of the UK. And we're competing in a very competitive market, and we have a differentiator. We want to be, in parallel, leaders in Europe at attracting inward investment. We're very good at this in other sectors like automotive, and we need to transfer that over to rail. Importantly, and it's an important theme throughout all of this strategy, is the connectivity with SMEs and the use of SMEs in developing this strategy and sort of demystifying exports for SMEs, helping SMEs understand and manage the risks of export, helping them become parts of larger organisations' supply chain and protecting the capability that exists in SMEs. In parallel, again, investing in skills and people to make sure that we are presenting the best that the UK has to offer when we go overseas, and learning from the best practice of other countries, but developing that and tailoring that so that we're not relying on one size fitting all, that we are getting the best from what we have in the UK. There is a need, and we are building in a review and monitoring, assessment and continual improvement into that strategy, because this is a very complex area, and it is important that we are measuring the delivery and really understanding how we're getting best practice into that. And that when we do something that's successful, it's not forgotten about in a few months, and that we're constantly reinventing and starting again. There are a few specifics, which I've managed not to get on the same piece of paper, so there we go. So the specifics are: we will enhance the understanding of exporting and risk management. Really, really important that people understand how to take their services and products overseas. We will increase the commercial resilience of the UK when it comes to rail exports, and position the UK better for engaging in major turnkey opportunities around the world. Look at ways to tap into different development funding and analyse factors that could therefore affect exporting, and work with government to enhance partnerships for overseas participation. The quality of data that we have on exports is actually quite good, but it needs to be consolidated. We need to bring it together and really use that data to help us understand where we're going and where the opportunities are. And finally, we need to understand how we support the development of universal standards. It's a difficult strategy, but it's one that we have to face head on, because this is all about developing the industry, all about developing the best practice and showcasing the UK. We are optimistic about the success of this strategy, but it will take a lot of hard work and the support of many organisations and many people in the room. Thank you.
Are going to be transferable skills, are going to be proper skilled engineers or whatever when they come out of the time, because I say we're on this downward trend.
I think we've got a question. Let's see if we get an answer quickly.
It's a very good question, and it's the right question. You should. I'm going to be slightly risky in saying you should have asked Sajid Javid that question, not us. But it's specifically in relation to the railway ones. Here's the three reasons why I think your concerns, your justified concerns, won't materialise. The new rail engineering trailblazer, which is just a little bit ahead of the rail operations trailblazer, is a fantastic piece of work. We already have, as you rightly said, probably about the 4th best apprenticeship in the UK. I think the new Trailblazer apprenticeship will take it even higher. Sue Gill, my colleague, works on that with lots of others from the industry, and she's here and can take you through it. One of the things we've tried to do is bring together the different rail specialisms, because we do need people to specialise, but the risk of that is, as you point out, that they then can't move. So we've identified a common core with specialisms such as signalling or whatever that you add on to that, so that people can move around without starting again, but can develop those more specialist skills. So I personally believe that actually the new Trailblazer will be an improvement on what's there now, not just a step back. And I think on the operations side, we're working very closely with RDG to make sure that that is the case there as well. But you're absolutely right. I think the wider apprenticeship policy, particularly when you've got really aggressive targets, you always run the risk of dumbing down. I'm happy to say that is not the case so far for what I'm seeing in our industry. And I think I've also mentioned lots of senior people will be looking at these developments as they go and will not be happy with they will share your view that they don't want it dumbed down. But it's a good question, thank you.
Thanks, Neil. Next question. Who would like to ask a question next? Yes, sir.
James McGilvray from Bridge Lights. A lot of the focus today has been on the importance of bringing together the right people across the industry, and I'm wondering if the panel can expand on the readiness of the sector to use big data and analytics to identify clusters of capability that should be focused on.
Right, who's brave enough to pick that challenging question up? I think that's one coming your way.
Well, I think we have started to work with your organisation, Bridge Light, and I think I was supposed to answer that, was I?
Well, that's very helpful, thank you.
There is a lot of work to be done, and I think we're helping the SMEs with some of the schemes we've already got in place to talk to the right people, and it's teaming with the larger companies, it's finding the right people to talk to and the right customers. They've got to want to do it, they've got to approach us. We've had a very good response to the SME mentoring scheme, and that is meant to guide them in the sort of ways you're talking about towards the right destinations.
Okay, we've just got time for one more quick question before we move on. If there isn't one, I'm going to... Yes, sir. Last question for you.
Stephen Head from Young Rail Professionals. Another question for Neil, if I may. As you know, YRP is very involved in industry promotion, and lots of great stuff being said about doing lots more of that. One thing we find is it's often the senior people say, yeah, we want to do that, but it's getting the buy-in at the right level in the organisation to actually release the members of staff to go and into schools or whatever. Is there anything in mind about actually getting the right level of buy-in in the companies?
So how can we get incidentally, the Young Rail Professionals are a huge credit to the industry and do some of the best ambassadorial work of anywhere in the industry. So we do need to support them. And yes, getting people out the companies is often a challenge, and I witnessed firsthand. I won't mention the company, but it was a large manufacturer in Derby where I saw but who are incidentally very supportive of this. But I watched the arm twisting going on. I think I'll take you back to my point about the fact that there's an industry consensus around this, and there are some very senior people who will be monitoring and measuring and supporting this. So I can see there be more arm twisting. I think if I make a link to the procurement point, at the moment some companies undoubtedly feel that they're the ones that keep being asked to release people. I think they would feel happier if they knew that others were releasing people. Often they are, but they don't always hear about it. And actually, as we make that more transparent, who's releasing, who's doing what, and especially at a regional level as well, I think you can start to, I think it will start to become more normal. But, you know, keep up the good work, Stephen, and just let us know if you need some arms twisted, and Adeline will do it.
Thanks, Neil. I'm going to give the last word on this to Adam, then we're going to move on, because time is defeated.
Just a quick one, thank you. I guess from my perspective, again, it's about the mirror thing, because last year in our business we decided to give every employee, 45,000 of them, 6 days to use as they wish to help support this sort of thing. So, which is a huge commitment outside of normal holidays. You can all do that too. We can do this as an industry, and I think that's really important. We give our employees headroom to do this sort of thing and add some value back.